This conference will now be recorded.
All right, I continue the review for the state standards exam. This is a continuance. This is part 2C, what I'm calling it, for the residential care portion, Title 310, Chapter 680, and Title 63, Sections 1-819, and so forth. This is applicable, as all of them are, specifically for nursing home administrators and residential care administrators, and also residential care assisted living administrators, as I explained in the residential care, in the assisted living continuum of care part in 2B. RCAL administrators need to know both. NHAs need to know all of them. And RCs, this is the one you need to know. So again, here we are. We're in residential care now. We've turned off our nursing home hat. We've taken our nursing home hat off. We've taken our assisted living hat off, and we're putting on our residential care hat as we go into looking at the health department's requirements and rules and statutes for residential care. And the place we've started in every one of these has been with definitions, and I'm going to point out to you again here that you need to look at the definition of an abuse. You'll see the definition of an administrator, and for you res care people, I discussed in the first section about this requirement of 1/3 of their time versus 1/2 as required by the board. I've explained that. If you missed that, go back and review that in the first section of the review. Other definitions of import there may be the definition of neglect and supportive assistance, which is kind of unique to residential care. And it's a relatively long definition, so I'll let you look at that. Then we move on then to paragraph 1-3E. says to enable better observation and supervision of residents who wish to smoke outside, and this is under the heading of purpose, authority, and indoor tobacco smoke. A facility may designate a smoking area outside an entrance other than the main entrance, which may be closer than 15 feet to the entrance, providing consideration is given to minimizing the possibility of smoke entering the building. What you see in other places is it says it won't be closer to 15 feet. This says it can be, provided that you've given consideration to this. So this is another one of those examples of a lobbying effort that has changed something, and it makes a difference between whether something is or is not allowed within 15 feet. Okay. So moving along, subchapter 3, licensure requirements. And again, licensure requirements are for the facility when we're talking about residential care. License, when we're talking about administrators, that's our license. This is a facility we're talking about. Subchapter 3, paragraph 3-7 looks at the resident records. 3-7B says every resident record shall be written in ink and include as a minimum the following. Again, I've mentioned before that this is probably outdated. Records are now in electronic form mostly, and I guess that's still ink, but they need to update these regs to get these things. But you should be familiar with all these things that are in a residence record and where to find them. So if you need to go look something up, you can do so. 3-8 addresses the residence council. 3-8A says no employee or affiliate of the home shall be a member of the council, but your person that you put on there is the one who assists and prepares the reports and all that kind of stuff, but they're not members. That's the defining difference there. It says the council shall consist of not less than 10 people or 50% of the residents or residents' family. You can't say 10 people because there are actually residential care homes that are fewer than 10 people total. So they had to address that with two ways, either 10 people or 50% of the residents' family, so that we can cover all of those items. In that subchapter 5, we're moving pretty quickly here. 5-17 says all first-time licensed homes shall have seating capacity in the dining room tables for the number of licensed beds. And I mentioned that as well, that a lot of this stuff is written down because of if it's not written down, then there's nothing to hold them accountable to. So that's why a lot of it's written down. That's not a number per se either, but it does have a number. It's specific to the number of beds that you have. So that's sort of a number. 5-6G, building elements, paragraph G, which is a difference from what you've read in what you've read in assisted living or even nursing homes for the nursing home administrators. And as a difference, the rest of you might want to notice, one, it's a number, and two, it's a difference. So it's ringing a couple of bells as to why you might want to look at this. Paragraph G says hot water temperatures at faucets accessible to residents shall be maintained within a range of 100 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. That is a range. The other ones have a max temperature for bathing of 115 degrees. So that's a relatively significant difference. I'm not sure why we don't burn at 120 degrees in residential care facilities, but that's not allowed in nursing homes and assisted living. While we're on this page, let's go ahead and look up at paragraph 5-5. It says each residential care home shall provide documentation that the fire marshal or the state fire marshal's representative has inspected and approved the home prior to issuance of initial license, and each residential care home with more than 6 beds shall provide documentation of an annual inspection and approval prior to issuance of a license renewal. This is the rule. It says annual. The reason I point that out is because the statute is properly constructed and says that you'll have a periodic inspection, regular scheduled, and the regular is defined in the rule as annual. So that answers that question that will come up later when we address that. So paragraph 5-7, resident rooms. 5-7C says each single resident room shall contain a minimum of 80 square feet of floor space, and each resident room containing multiple beds shall provide a minimum of 60 square feet per bed. And those are different numbers than what you saw defined, Mr. Nursing Home Administrator, in the nursing home. So those are, again, differences that you want to pay attention to. That's paragraph 7. Now, so we're going on to subchapter 7. Environmental health and sanitary requirements, paragraph 7-5E says deodorizers shall not be used to cover up odors caused by unsanitary conditions or poor housekeeping practices. So you can't be flowering things up to get rid of the smell. You got to address the smell at the root cause is what they're trying to say there. 7-6, residential and visiting pets, paragraph A says each home that allows residential or visiting pets shall adopt and comply with policies that meet or exceed 680-7-6A and 7-6B. I've never seen a paragraph reference itself before, but there we have it. Point that out too. Tells you what you have to have at paragraph 5C when you have a record of service on file at the home. And most of this comes back to the administrator as the one who has to have all this stuff when you have pets in the home or visiting pets that come in there. Okay, so be real familiar with all the requirements for visiting pets, especially if you have some in your facility. Dietary requirements, subchapter 9. 9-1A says a residential care home shall have available a minimum of 3 meals per day, constituting a palatable, nutritionally adequate general diet, and should, doesn't say it must, should include the basic 4 food groups in the recommended amounts. I don't think the Butterfinger group is one of those, all you Bart Simpson fans out there. Paragraph B said there shall be no more than 14 hours between the substantial evening meal and the following morning meal, and between meal snacks shall not replace regular meals. Paragraph E says 3 days supply of food shall be in the home at all times, including cold storage, which is consistent with what we've seen in other regs. Paragraph 11-1-2C, talking about staff qualifications and staff training. Staff training says that direct care staff, paragraph C, direct care staff who are responsible for administering or monitoring medication shall annually be required to receive at least 8 hours of training by the administrator of the home in patient reporting and observation, record keeping, independent or daily living skills, leisure skills, blah, blah, blah. It goes on. what's noticeable there is you have to have 8 hours of training by the administrator. Again, I say anytime the administrator word pops up, it should perk up your ears. There's another one of those places that it does. Does not say that the administrator has to do the training. He has to provide it. So even though he's probably not the expert in daily living skills or patient reporting and that observation, he may not be the expert. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. But if he is not, he can find someone to come in and give that training, 8 hours of training that he provides. He's not giving it. You're not the one who has to stand in front of your employees and give them this training. That's what the confusion there frequently is. 13-1, paragraph B, A and B, they're actually medication storage administration. Medication is stored in an area that is locked, is well lighted, and room temperature not to exceed 86 degrees Fahrenheit. There's another number. Paragraph B, medications requiring refrigeration shall be kept in a refrigerator with a temperature range of 36 to 48 degrees Fahrenheit and separate from food and other items. A method of locking shall be provided, and paragraph C says medication shall not be stored with any other non-drug item. So there you have medication storage there. Paragraph U below that says discontinued medications may be kept up to 3 months and must be separated from the current medications within the locked medication area. Paragraph Z says the RN shall do a documented medication review on every resident in the home quarterly. That's a frequency, that's like a number. So that's something you might want to pay attention to. And who does it? It's the RN. It's not the LPN. It's not the administrator. It's the RN. Administration of medications, paragraph 2A says that only persons who meet requirements for administration of medications shall administer medications. So that means if you're a MAT, you're probably authorized to do it. But as soon as you let that MAT expire, you're no longer authorized to administer meds. So if you're going to administer meds, keep your MAT up. Otherwise, it's just a requirement to get your license, mostly for training, so you understand it. But after that, it's up to you, up to you and your companies whether they want you to administer meds or be a backup to be able to do that if you need to. 13-1. Oh, let's see, I've already covered that. Yeah. 13-2, 8A through C talks about bulk dispensing, oral analgesics, antacids, and laxatives. That sounds familiar to the things we've been told in other areas. So that concluded pretty much what we wanted to cover in the rules for residential care. We'll zip through the definitions of the statute part of it. A lot of it's going to be repeating again. You've got abuse, administrator, neglect, supportive assistance. All those things have been redefined, but we're going to stop and look at paragraph 1-821C, which says to improve patient care, the department shall hold a public meeting at least once every 4 years in each of the licensed homes to advise and to facilitate communication and cooperation between personnel of the home and residents. Administrators, there's your name. Employees of the home, residents, friends, and relatives of residents, representatives of residents, employees from appropriate state, federal agencies shall be invited and encouraged to attend such meetings. So every 4 years, they're supposed to have that happen. I don't know that it happens, but that's what it says it will happen. 1-828, skipping over a few pages here, where it says fire safety. It says the state fire marshal or a designee shall conduct fire safety inspections on a regular basis. I mentioned that a while ago that regular basis is defined in the rule as annual, but it is, a regular basis is the statutory requirement. 1-829, inspections and investigations. This is your surveys. The department, paragraph B1, the department shall at least one time a year and whenever it is necessary inspect, survey, and evaluate each home to determine compliance with applicable licensures and rules. Okay. 1-833. Let me go back to that. 1-833 is where we'll finish this thing, it talks about the penalties. Any person who's been determined by the State Department of Health to have violated provisions may be liable for a civil penalty of not more than $100 for each day that the violation continues, with a maximum penalty not to exceed $10,000 for any related series of violations in res care. So that's pretty hefty fine that you can have. That pretty much concludes the residential care piece. If you look at those things, you should be well prepared. Residential care people should be well prepared with this and the board rules to pass that state standards exam. Residential care, assisted living with this and the assisted living and the board piece, you should be ready. Nursing homes, you should be getting close. The only piece you're missing at this point, if you've gone through these in order, is the adult daycare piece. And we'll get to that. Good luck to you all. Thank you.